We have new exciting makeup dupes to test out against their expensive opponents. Let's begin with this one right here. Charlotte Tilbury versus e.l.f. We have the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter versus the Hollywood Flawless Filter. $32 difference right here. Charlotte Tilbury is $46 versus e.l.f. $14. I have the same shades, fair one. Let's just go for it. Right side, dupes, left side, expensive. And I'm gonna use a sponge to blend this out. Beige, cheap, the black, expensive. Oh, that's actually really pretty. Hold on, you guys, that's very pretty. Very glowy though. So let's go with this side, the expensive, blend this out. This side, it's a little bit more of a silver, glowy undertone versus this is golden. I like the golden better. Okay, I'll be honest. The Charlotte Tilbury, it's not as luminizing as the e.l.f., but the e.l.f. does have a little bit more coverage, so I think that's the difference. You can see more of it on the skin. All right, so this is the foundation dupe. Right here we have the Kosas. This one is the Revealer Skin Improving Foundation with SPF of 25 versus the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation with a total savings of $26. So $42.16. They're pretty similar. They have a natural finish, medium coverage. They both have hyaluronic acid, and people are saying these are extremely similar with the coverage, the wear time, the texture, the finish, all those good things. Okay. Yeah, the color is very different.
Are you mixing them?
No, I'm just two different fingers.
Oh, okay.
Sponge. Oh wow, that's blending in like a dream. I definitely would say it's a natural finish. It's not extremely heavily radiant. You can see a little bit of that e.l.f. peeking through, but it kind of toned down that luminosity, which is actually really pretty together. Kosas, I would say it's a lot more glowy. From the very get-go of blending out the foundation, the ColourPop had a lot more coverage, a lot more even coverage. I would say the texture is honestly pretty spot on. They're very creamy, they're very fluid, and they're very, very blendable. The Kosas foundation, it definitely sheared out a lot more with the sponge versus the ColourPop. But I am impressed with how close these two are, even up close. Brow pencils. ABH, Anastasia Beverly Hills, the Brow Wiz versus NYX Micro Brow Pencil. The price difference is $12. ABH is $23 versus NYX $11, which is a great money saver. All right, both pencils extremely similar. If anything, I will give it to texture and formula. The NYX is a little bit more creamier. Pigment is more intense, and it's also a little bit harder to control on top of makeup versus the ABH. This one is very easy to control because it has a little bit more resistance, especially if it's going on top of makeup or something more glowy and just like primer, oils, etc. This has a little bit more resistance and grip, and it sticks to your brow hairs and your skin better than the NYX because it's more creamy and more waxy. I'm gonna use the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Gel Setter for both brows because there isn't a dupe for this, and I've tested many. Nothing comes close to this, in my opinion. So for concealers, we have another Kosas product. Revealer Super Creamy Plus Brightening Concealer and Daytime Eye Cream, $28 versus the NYX Bear With Me Concealer. It's a serum concealer. And this one retails for, I think depends on what retailer, but $11. I love both of these concealers. I've never put them one-to-one, but people are saying this is a great dupe for this. I just apply the back of my hand and I just place it with my fingers to areas where I want to conceal. And this type of concealer, it's definitely creamy. It's not as liquidy, but I usually take my finger, just kind of place it where I need that concealer. And then I'm gonna take my sponge and blend it out. It's such a beautiful concealer. It's so stunning. If you've never tried this concealer out, I would definitely put this either on your wish list or put it in your cart because it's beautiful. You need the smallest amount. I mean, I still have that much concealer I could use for the other side, but a little bit goes a long way, and it's such a beautiful concealer. And then Kosas in shade 3 on this side right here. And you can see the doe foot applicator.
That one's brighter.
All right, I'm so excited and intrigued by this dupe. We have the Chanel, the cream bronzer, the coveted. It was one of the very first bronzers. Very high price tag of $50 versus the ColourPop Soul Face and Body Bronzing Balm. $15 versus $50. And I'm gonna just go with my sponge. Work it in there. And this does have a scent. They both do. Yeah, this one's very pigmented. It looks muddy.
Yeah, right now.
Rude. I got way too much. That's the problem. I mean, that blends like a dream. Very blendable, very pigmented. Let's go on to the Chanel. Also fragranced. I would say the only thing with the Chanel, it's not as pigmented. So it's a little bit easier to work with because it is so buildable. But I mean, look at that. It's pretty. All right, we have a setting powder. We have the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder versus the e.l.f. their Halo Glow Setting Powder. I believe this one is in light and this one's translucent, and I picked up the talc free version. They actually came out with one. $38 savings. So Hourglass is $46 versus e.l.f. is $8. I'm gonna use the e.l.f. puff, kind of work it, tap it into it, and then just very lightly tap under my eyes, around my nose, forehead. Oh, that is stunning. Wow. And then I'm gonna take the Beauty Blender puff, work the Hourglass into it. Ooh, okay. They're both very similar. I would say the finish, very diffused, but still soft, and it's not super mattifying. I'm gonna take a little bit of powder bronzer to kind of give a little bit more warmth. We have the Ilia Nightlight Bronzing Powder in shade Drawn In, $34 versus the L'Oreal 24-Hour Bronzer Fresh Wear for $16 US, so $18 savings. The texture is very similar. We swatched them to each other and the color is very similar. They both have that very soft powder, kind of baked texture. Very stunning. I'm gonna just take like a angled brush. And I really like to work this powder into the brush that I'll be using. But this bronzer from the drugstore, it's so nice. It's so creamy, so blendable. It's one of my favorites. But like you guys saw, it's very, very softly milled and just very soft powder, so you do have to work it into your brush. Okay, I'm gonna take a similar brush and also do the same thing. I like to work it into the brush because it's also very softly powdered. Look at that. I love this bronzer. What do we think? That's very similar. All right, these blushes, I read online that they're really, really similar in texture and in color. So we have the Pat McGrath, the Skin Fetish in shade Nude Venus, $39. This is one of my favorite blushes, honestly, of all time, versus the Milani in shade Petal Primavera. And this formula is very, very pretty. We're gonna go with the Milani. Just very gently start kind of hitting the tops of my cheeks. Oh wow, how have I not had this in my collection? That is so pretty. And these blushes, they're so easy to work with, and they always looked airbrush on the cheeks. They never exaggerate any kind of texture on my cheeks. I love that sheen. She's stunning. Let's move on to this one. Oh, wait, they're actually really similar on the cheeks. Okay, finally going to eyeshadows. So these right here, we swatched them and they look very, very similar. We have Laura Mercier Caviar Stick in shade Amethyst versus LA Girl, their Sunkissed Glow Shadow Stick in Sandy Desert. Laura Mercier, $32 versus $6, so $26 saving. Start with LA Girl. I'm just going all over the lid. I'm gonna take, I have two of these Rare Beauty brushes, and I'm gonna work this into my eyes. Looks like it's blending out pretty good. I kind of think I lost some of that wet metallic look, but it's really nice still. Yeah, this one's very creamy. When I was swatching these, this one had a little bit more playing time before it really set, and this one has a little bit more blendability. Look at that. just curling my lashes. And we have a dupe for one of my favorite mascaras by Rare Beauty. This is their volumized mascara, and it's supposedly the Maybelline is a great dupe for the Rare Beauty Maybelline The Falsies Lash Lift Mascara. $10 savings, 20 versus 10. Nice natural wispy lashes. Love that. Let's move on to Rare Beauty. This one, same thing, nice boar bristles, and it has a little bit of an indent towards the middle, but it's not as tapered or an hourglass shape as the Maybelline, but I love this mascara. Ooh, it's so black right away, so rich, so pigmented. This is already a little bit of a drier formula because I've had it for a little bit, and it's a chef's kiss. Selena really got this one right. So with the mascaras, I will say the Rare Beauty, it's a lot more pigmented. It's very rich, very opaque. And with just one coat, you can get really flawless looking lashes. The Falsies, the Maybelline, it's not as richly pigmented, but it's still really beautiful, nice and black formula. Also very creamy. The only thing did have to build it up a little bit more to get to the amount with Rare Beauty with just one coat, but I did give Rare Beauty a little bit more as well. And Andrea said that this side looks a little bit more clumpy, but we'll see how they wear. I'm curious because this one wears beautifully on me, the Rare Beauty. Let's move on to lip liners. We have Makeup by Mario. I love his lip liners. This one is the Ultra Suede Sculpting Lip Pencil in Smoky Pink versus Juvia's Place. I love Juvia's Place liners as well. Their Luxe Lip Liner for $10. So 22 versus 10, Smoky Pink versus Lush. Okay, major differences. The Juvia's Place, it's creamier and it's a little bit more of a satin finish in comparison to the Makeup by Mario. Makeup by Mario definitely has more of that matte, long wearing type of a lip liner formula, but color wise, they're extremely similar. All right, I'm gonna leave it here. If I asked you if I'm wearing expensive or cheap, you'd probably say it's the same makeup on both sides. But yes, we're gonna see the longevity, the wear time, see how everything wears, see how everything breaks down, or if it looks fabulous. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so this makeup, I would say wore pretty good up until like the 5-6 hour mark. I'm like 90% sure it's both of those like glowy filter primers, the illuminators. What else could you call that? Basically the e.l.f. versus the Charlotte Tilbury. I think that's what made this makeup go downhill after the 5-6 hour mark. Both of those primers slash illuminators, they really accentuate or really bring out the texture on my skin. Like every little pore, every little bump on my face, all the little fine lines, everything is so accentuated and enhanced. So what it looks like right now, honestly, it still looks really pretty around like the cheeks. It still looks pretty glowy, it looks healthy, it looks luminous, but it looks horrendous right here around my mouth area, where I have my smile lines, where I have that texture, where I have those bumps, where I have basically a lot of the texture. It looks so bad. It looks so exaggerated. It's so cracked. It's so separated. It's so dry looking on both sides. Not one side is better or worse than the other. The cheek products, I think they look fabulous. You can still see the bronzer. It's not the most visible bronzer on both sides. The cream and the powder bronzer, I think right here kind of wore off on both sides, but the cheeks, they still look really incredible. They still look very airbrushed. They look very full of color. Both brow products look really good actually. I think the Anastasia one is lasting a little bit longer than the NYX. Moving on, what else? Foundations. I have to be honest. I think the ColourPop looks slightly better. It's a little bit more even. The coverage is a little bit more even. It doesn't look as dry. The finish looks very even as well, the way it's wearing down. From here on, it looks stunning. It doesn't look dry on my chin or my jaw. This side right here, the Kosas looks a little bit drier on my jaw right here. But yeah, I think I like the ColourPop more than the Kosas. Okay, moving on to eyeshadow. I actually see a little bit more creasing with the Laura Mercier. This one actually doesn't have as much creasing, but there is creasing right here in the inner corner. There's a little bit of pigment missing. Mascaras, I will say, I think they're actually pretty good. They're pretty similar on the scale of longevity. The only thing that Rare Beauty has an edge over, there's not as much flaking or transfer. With the Maybelline, there's a little bit more flaking. You can even see right here on the upper eyelid. There's a little bit more transfer on the lower lash line, and there's a little bit more flaking. But otherwise, my lashes still look pretty lifted, curled, lengthened. There's not as much difference with the mascaras besides some of that longevity that I just mentioned. Which concealer do I prefer? I think they were pretty even. I think this one looks a little bit still more hydrating. This one looks a little bit more dry and crepey right here in the inner corner. The NYX concealer is beautiful. It's one of my favorites from the drugstore, even from more expensive concealers. It's just so creamy, it's so radiant. It's not the most long lasting, but I do love it for those days where I want that natural makeup look, and it just gives a really beautiful coverage where it doesn't look heavy, it doesn't look cakey, it doesn't look crepey under the eyes. So I do really enjoy that concealer. Moving on to the lip liners. Both lip liners are still there. I think this one there's a little bit more just because I overlined it slightly more than the Makeup by Mario. But yeah, they're both pretty even on the lips. I like both formulas. I have many colors from both brands, and I think these are actually pretty close to one another. And yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here. Oh, setting powders. Honestly, I think I like the e.l.f. one more. I think it looks a little bit softer on the face, and it wears not as dry throughout the day. Well, there you have it. Cheap versus expensive makeup. I think Dupes held their own, and I'm pretty impressed with them. Thank you for watching, spending time with me, and I'll see you next one very soon. Bye.